say, oh yeah, I have to record my answer to questions for 6A, B, and C. Okay, yeah. So, here's my scratch paper. Here's my exam. Okay, so draw a dependency diagram showing the functional dependencies of all columns in the table above, right? With primary keys or custom or client name, customer name, or whatever. So customer name and agent name are primary keys. Sales must be made through agents, hence the company is not able to sell directly to a customer unless there's an agent involved. Okay, so I'm gonna create. So we have the report, and it says create a dependency diagram, right? Okay, so we have client name, which is a primary key, so I'm going to underline it. Then we have client phone, which is obviously dependent on the name, and the address, which is also obviously dependent on the name. Zip, same thing. Then we have the agent name, which is another primary key. The agent phone, I can't fit this all. I should have wrote this out differently. So we have this is, I'll see what it looks like. Agent phone. We have TP, which I don't even know what that is. Insurance type. Insurance policy amount. Insurance renewal date. And then supporting documents. Okay. So, client phone, client address, and client zip are all dependent on the client name because that's a primary key. Agent name, agent phone is obviously dependent on agent name. Insurance type, insurance policy amount, insurance renewal date, supporting documents are all specific to the specific case. So I would say, actually, supporting documents is dependent on insurance type. So I can draw a dependency there. So supporting documents is dependent on insurance type, and I would guess, I'm gonna make an assumption here because we can do that the insurance policy amount would also be determined by the insurance type. I'm gonna guess that the renewal date, I feel like the renewal date is not dependent on the insurance type. I figured out. I think that's just dependent on the date that the policy was created, but that is not an attribute given here. Let me think. Sales must be made through agents, hence the company line was like a customer unless there is an agent involved. For correct component relations, primary key dependencies. So I'm gonna say that the client and the agent together, do they serve as like a composite key for sales? And based on the sale is the renewal date. So I'm actually gonna say that the combination of agent name and C name is dependent on the renewal date and because that's the sales. Okay. I'm gonna rewrite. So it looks really bad, so I'm gonna rewrite it horizontally. I think that would look a lot better. So I'll be able to fit them all. So we have sales, insurance sales. Okay, so client name, client phone, client address, a name, a phone, TP, ANT, REN, and SD. Okay. And we said our primary keys are the client name, agent name, and then obviously client phone, client address, dependent on client name, a phone is dependent on agent name. We know that the amount in supporting documents are dependent on the type of insurance, and the client name and the address name together, I believe, represent the sale, which would mean that the type is dependent on that, as well as the renewal date. So you get something that looks like this. Okay, so that's my answer to 6A, I believe. 6A. So I have the components, relation, primary key, dependencies. Okay, so I'm gonna also include that these are partial dependencies. So I'm gonna represent PD as partial dependency, and then I'm gonna represent TD as transitive dependencies. So I'm just gonna write that PD partial dependency, and then TD is transitive dependency. Okay, so I got the component, relation, primary key, and the dependencies. I don't know if I needed to write that out, but I did. Okay, so now I gotta create a 2NF, which means I get rid of the partial dependencies according to our notes from normalization of 1NF, 2NF, and 3NF. It says, make a new table to eliminate any partial dependencies at each component. Each component will become a new key in the table. So 6B is going to have a separate table now for clients, because those were partial dependencies not reliant on agent for phone, address, and zip. So I'm gonna let CNAME be the primary key still, and then you're gonna have the client phone, client address, and that's it. Yep, okay. So the client has phone, address, then we're gonna have the agent, which is just agent name and agent phone, because that was a transitive dependency, or sorry, partial dependency. And then lastly, we're gonna have sales. And sales is going to be the client name with the composite key, because you also need the agent name, because when an agent makes a sale to a client, you have a sale, and that is where you get the type of insurance, the amount owed, the renewal date, and the supporting documents. And so, however, you still have a transitive property between amount and supporting documents. So this is transitive. I'm sorry, yeah, transitive dependency. So this would be 6B. And then for 3 and F, you eliminate transitive dependencies and write its determinant as a primary key for a new table, and then you reassign corresponding dependent attributes. Okay. So here you can see I branched out 6A, 6B to make new ones. Now I'm going to do what I believe is 3 and F. Hopefully I'm doing this right. And basically, client agent would be the same. So client is going to be the same. Agent is going to be the same. And then sales. Now let me just, see, I feel like I messed this up on homework and I didn't quite understand it. So let me just double check that I'm doing this right. Because I'm not sure, okay, wait, it says it right here in this PDF. It says, for every transitive dependency, write its determinant as a primary key for a new table. And it says reassign corresponding dependent attributes. Identify the attributes dependent on each determinant and assign name table to reflect its contents and functions. So if before you had employee, which in our PDF example, you have the employee number, which is primary key, and then you get the name, job class, and the charge per hour. Well, charge per hour is transitive dependency on job class. It's not really dependent on the employee number, it's dependent on the job class. So you identify that, and then you take out change hour from employee, and you just put it in a new thing called job with job. Okay, so that means sales should no longer have so the sales should only have a client name, the agent who made the sale, and those are our primary keys, and then that gives us the type of insurance that the sale has in my assumption, the renewal date, based on what I talked about earlier, and then that is a 3NF. And then you have another one, which is insurance. What would we call it? Insurance types. So, or types of insurance. Insure types. And insurance types is going to have the type, it's a primary key, and then the amount, and then the supporting documents needed. And then that is a 3NF with no partial dependencies and no transitive dependencies. I think that's right. I feel like that's what I did on the homework though, and I got points off on the homework, so hopefully I did this right though. Okay, so let me double check my exam instructions. Yeah, so create relations are 3NF. Full credit points given for each course. In the relations, primary key per relation, functional dependencies per relation, and primary key to foreign key connections. Do I have any foreign keys? Oh yeah. How do I identify a foreign key? I don't remember. does the PDF do it? I'm just gonna say that this is a foreign key. Okay, because type of sales is the only. Oh. Wait. Primary key, and then in 6C, now types of insurance becomes a foreign key. Okay. They, in the PDF, they don't do a good job of explaining that. But I think my documentation is clear. I wrote this FK representing that types of insurance is now foreign key because I made a new table for insurance types where that's the primary key and it's a foreign key in my sales table. So I think that should all be correct and all make sense. So, okay. That should be the end of question 6.